live.
We are live. We are having issues. I put committee discussion of the tax code on the end. But I didn't realize we had committee discussion for the first half hour also. We are approaching crossover. 248A came to us today. I'm not going to take that up until after crossover. That's an H. Captive insurance is out. As soon as I've asked Maria to come in, we'll vote it out. I've asked Maria to come in, bring us section by section and just walk us through. I believe that's coming this week. Up there.
Is that 248? Police related to 248?
It's related to the 248A rule. The sunset is up in July. So I have a bill in here that would have abolished the sunset. I was told at a meeting with the House chair yesterday that what's coming to us is a 4-year extension and a study. There seems to be a lot of concern from the public that the PUC process is difficult for them to access, to interact with. So there's going to be a couple of things in there like requiring, now towns may have a public hearing, requiring that there be a public hearing and that the PUC attend. But we will go over that after town meeting. That is here. What I'd like to get out, and I was asked today by Ways and Means if we're going to get it out by crossover, and I said no, I was waiting for the miscellaneous tax. Is looking at all the kind of tax bills we've got in the tax code. I know there's a lot of concern that we're not collecting enough from the upper bracket. And we've got a couple of bills that will attract more. I think the biggest thing we're going to do is we have passed the second homes tax, and that will be coming over to us in, I believe, the miscellaneous tax bill, and that would be an adjustment of those rates. Remember, everybody paid one, but if we adjust it to non-homestead residential, like to 1.2 or 1.01, that would be a higher payment by second homes. But that is there. I'm probably told you, I'm starting to say, we have a fairly high top tax bracket, but it starts at a fairly low rate. 300,000 isn't a lot of money if you are trying. This is for couple filing jointly. So that isn't a lot of income if you look at 2 working people in any kind of a profession. We're hearing a lot about having a really difficult time attracting primary care doctors and even specialty doctors. You think about it, you could work at Dartmouth, so you have the Dartmouth name on your resume and pay no income tax. Or you could move to Vermont and work at North Country or Gifford and pay one of the highest income tax rates in the country. And when you add that a fair number of your patients are probably going to be on Medicaid, anybody that has an accountant can figure out that you have to be really dedicated to come work here. But so I don't know if we need to look at breaking out, we collapsed those top two tax brackets 6 years ago, in order to be more competitive with the rest of New England. I don't think that's worked. So I'd like to investigate if there's a way to kind of maybe put the fifth bracket in to adjust to the rate so that we are not discouraging professionals from moving here. And at the same time, look at, can we move that top bracket up? We've also got Senator Bohovsky's bill that I went back over the testimony, but it seems that there's different thresholds and things from the federal bill, and if we could get them to line up, it would be much easier for everybody to administer and know what you were doing. And I'd also like to look at that 200,000 threshold, because 200,000 was set in 2013, and it definitely doesn't have the buying power now that it did in 2013. That's what I'm looking at this point. I think we've got the other rooms and meals tax. I think other committees are also looking at that for things like housing. The governor's proposing moving $10 million out of the ed fund and then putting general fund in for this year only. I think the budget people are just gonna do 10 million from the general fund to the ed fund and not start the precedent of removing an additional $10 million a year out.
You mean 10 million to the transportation
Fund
from that general fund?
From the
and
general
not,
fund,
not including the ed fund in the whole.
not including the ed, not putting it in and then taking it out.
And
That's what.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So your idea about the bracket, the income tax brackets, do we have some analysis by JFO on that yet? I'd love to see the data. Because you mentioned a bunch of times, it would be really
I
helpful to
do
look
have
at.
a sheet and I will have Patrick bring it back. I first did it to moving it to 400. I thought 500 to start a top bracket might be better. Would like. Yeah, I'd like to keep it at least revenue neutral.
Well, I just want to see.
Yeah.
We've only talked about it in theory, not in actual.
Right,
like, looking at the
and
data, and I'd
Patrick's
just love to
done
do that.
a breakout, and I know he's working on other things. And so I'll have him come in and talk to us about
That
that.
would be great.
So similarly, I'd love to know where we see those brackets. Were they just set in stone or do they automatically adjust? Do they sync with the?
They
feds, or what's
adjust
the issue?
for.
Yeah.
I mean, one number I got was 294.
Yeah,
Now it's up to 30 something. They automatically adjust for inflation.
okay,
So we don't set them every year like we attach to the feds every year. There is an automatic, I assume, a deflator. If anything ever deflates, but they do adjust automatically up. But
we should know that.
I'm just, no, we haven't looked at the tax code. The first jobs cut. And that wasn't even, that was the code. We made $30 million from a tax cut bill.
So the IIJA, was that 2016
Oh,
or
yeah.
28?
Yeah, that was 16, right? Yeah, and so completely decoupled from the feds then and did our present tax code. Basically, the 30 million seemed to have come from middle class people, which wasn't our goal. So we reattached it and redid it. And there's still things out there. There was biggest concern was when we did our deductions. We had one standard deduction, and it was the charitable deductions that every cultural organization in the state was sure that if you couldn't deduct on the state tax, you could still deduct it all on the federal tax, but if you couldn't do it on the state tax, then that people would stop giving. I haven't heard any more, so I assume that didn't happen, but we were so focused on that, we missed medical deductions.
Yeah.
And that you didn't get a separate medical deduction here, so we did get that on the second year, but it is convoluted. We weren't getting help from the other body on that one. But we did get a medical deduction in. So that is where we are. So I thought Carrick Johnson was coming today. We're trying to figure out on the AI data centers, and there he is. Welcome.
You're waiting for it. Perfect.
Well, we're having, for some reason, maybe it's because Mardi Gras was last night, we're not getting very many witnesses today. I don't know why, but you can have the comfortable chair.
Okay.
Anyone that testifies in health and welfare is envious of that chair. The health and welfare chair is going to collapse on the floor on one of these days. It creaks. So anyway, we're looking at this moratorium on AI data centers. And we've heard that other states are having issues. Some of them are regretting the incentives, the tax credits, that there's issues with what amount of electricity would be in your field, water. And I guess the first question is, we know we've got 3, I think, data centers, not the huge 20-acre ones, but smaller ones. Do you have the ability to control if they came in and wanted to use 50% of the grid? I mean, do you have the ability to say, no, you can't have that much, you need to develop your own energy source? Does the PUC have the power they need?
Yes, so for the record, I'm Greg Faber with the PUC. So I guess the short answer is, yeah, we do. So this bill, so you have your moratorium section up front. And then it goes into, it requires us to do a wide-ranging investigation, which there's no appropriation in here for, and we have no expertise in it. So there's a House bill, as you may or may not be aware, H 727, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. And what that bill does is it focuses on our existing authority under interconnection agreements and special contracts. Special contracts being the contract between the utility and the large load, like a ski resort, think ski resorts, they use a ton of power. The utilities have special contracts with them, which we need to review and approve or not. And also the interconnection, if they have to build, new transmission line, transformers, that type of thing. We're gonna review all of that as well. As far as the actual siting of basically a warehouse, that uses water, maybe a lot of water, that should go through the town in Act 250 as it normally does today in sort of building like that. Or a ski resort, we don't regulate the ski resort, but we regulate their connection to the grid. So that's how we envision working with that. And H727, we added language to that to address the specific data center problem. But so that's, yes, that's my spiel on that.
It was, I had heard yesterday that there was a bill, I think headed this way by crossover.
I think so, yeah.
And that some people were concerned or looking at the former Vermont Yankee site for
Oh, for it is.
a data center. There were a lot of transmission and
Yeah.
lines and connections that went in there, which might make it a logical site
There's also a solar site being discussed for
for
that.
there. Okay,
So that might use up some of that.
yeah.
But I don't.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think some people were concerned that that's a big open place that might attract the data center.
Awesome.
Can I elaborate on the process you were outlining? So let's say if somebody wants to build a 100 megawatt, which is what they typically start at, they can go up to 500 megawatt AI data center. They go through, find a town, they go through the local process, go through Act 250, and then where does that intersect with? Would it by default intersect with the PUC? And would you be able to quite cleanly say, no, we don't support? You can't draw that much power off the grid. Do you have that authority today to tell them that we've not had that?
So likely that facility would have to negotiate a special contract with the utility that we would have to review and approve or not. So yes, we do have that authority to say, no, the special contract doesn't make sense. Likely the utility would inform the facility well beforehand, because obviously if you're coming in with that size load, you're going to talk to the utility first. Because you're going to need their infrastructure.
And this is something you do. So with ski resorts, you look at these contracts and you can recall when you've said no in the past.
I don't know that we've said no to ski resorts, and they were done a long time ago. So I personally, I didn't have any involvement in those, but we do have special contracts. Global Foundries, before it was a utility,
Yes.
they had a special contract. It's, we don't have a great number of large loads in Vermont, but
That
that
was,
is the process, and interconnection as well. And obviously, you're going to have to pay for any. The user is going to have to pay for any upgrades to the grid. So that could be millions and millions of dollars, right? So that's the utility will perform what's called a system impact study, and that will outline all the upgrades that are necessary. And they do this for all solar projects as well. I mean, obviously the power is going the other way in that case, but they'll perform a system impact study that will say, look, you got to build 5 new transformers. We've got to bring in a transmission line. It's going to cost you X amount. You need to pay us for that. And then sure, we'll go ahead and do that. But we're going to need all these upgrades to our system in order to connect you. And that might stop the project right there. We don't even look at that at that point. But once they do agree with that, then we look at that as part of our review of the interconnection agreement.
I think Global Foundries got in years ago.
Well, it was years ago, yeah. But when they were first, when they were IBM,
They're much smaller, but that was an ongoing issue, was because they were always being compared to Fishkill in New York. In New York, provides lower rates for industrial power and I just soon we finally did let them become their own utility and they buy their own electricity somewhere.
They produce a lot of it.
Yeah. So that's
I'm curious, how do they produce?
They have solar sites.
So solar's their main production,
They have a ton of solar, yeah,
on campus, off campus type thing.
around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Around.
Yeah.
They're large, they have a lot of acreage, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
when they started, solar wasn't what it is today. So that one has worked out. And hopefully it's good too.
Occupy the time since you started early, if I can ask you another one.
Of course.
What you understand about this type of facility that would demand such power, do you think Vermont has an attractive market from a rate and regulatory stance that would be drawing more interest from AI data center developers to want to build them here?
Well, if you put it under our jurisdiction, that's a more expedited process than Act 250. So you probably don't want to do that if you want to slow this development down. You want to speed it up. Because we're one-stop shopping. You know, if you're going through the town in Act 250 and then to the environmental court, potentially
But
3 stops.
they'd have to do that if it's using water, right? You can't do a one-stop shop if they're,
Oh, if they come to us, we would review their impacts on water, just like we do now for every other project.
and that would get them around Act 250.
Yes.
Um,
As you know, we incorporate most of the Act 250 criteria in our reviews, like every solar project.
Okay.
They put in information on water, even though they don't use any,
They don't use it.
but that's the information they provide. Just for example, obviously the facility is using water, a substation. Sometimes they put in restrooms at substations. You
Okay,
may not notice that, but sometimes there's restrooms for the people who work there.
yeah,
And they use water. And they have to put in evidence on how much water we're gonna use, it could impact existing water supplies. So we get all that information now,
okay.
but Act 250 gets the same. They would get the same.
What about building the actual facility? You don't oversee the facility building as part of.
We wouldn't now,
process.
unless you changed our
No,
jurisdiction.
I don't want to.
I wouldn't
I-
recommend that.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think a facility this large that would have this much impact should go through the review of both the PUC and Act 250 as relevant.
I agree,
Okay,
as well as the town.
and the town, of
Yeah.
course, yes, because there are traffic impacts and.
So they're looking at the building,
land use
we're looking at the interconnection,
Got it.
and that makes sense to us.
And that's under our current regulatory system
Right.
without us having to change.
That's
it.
right, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah,
This bill was kind of changing that, was the opening an investigation for us to look at all that stuff. So we were a little concerned about that, and the bill upstairs was doing the same thing, and we asked them to change it. So it's more focusing on the interconnection, the special contract aspect.
But it doesn't talk about the land use Act 250.
No, that would just go through Act 250 just like it
Okay.
would today, and
yeah, we're trying to get A&R in.
A&R would look at all the criteria just like they do in our cases and in Act 250 cases. And obviously it's kind of a unique animal, but it is. In the end, it's just a building that uses a lot of power and water, so.
Yeah.
The one thing that is attractive to data centers that I've heard up here is, we have a lot of fiber. We have a good fiber backbone. And that's something attractive to data centers, AI data centers, you can imagine, so.
Fiber as in, because we just.
Broadband, that's nice stuff, Madam Chair.
Oh, that kind of fiber,
Yeah.
yes,
We have a lot of fiber, yeah.
Yeah,
So that could be attractive to a data center.
okay.
Although-
I was thinking fiber boards, because
Oh,
we made a lot of those too.
Yeah, fiber backbone and,
All right.
but otherwise our rates aren't they're the lowest in New England. But they're not the lowest in the country, that's for sure. So.
No, but-
We
We are still a regulated utility, which good part of New England is a good part of it.
That's right. And rates are probably gonna go up.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Not too worried that we'll see the big ones here, but it's possible. More concerning is, large data centers in New Hampshire, let's say. Then we're starting to pay for transmission upgrades if that happens. We're on the hook for
Bellscope
that.
said, because I asked them, they came in to say hi, and I asked if they put up data centers in Massachusetts, are we going to have to pay to run the transmission lines? And they said no, that the companies would have to pay for anything to connect, but that
That's true.
then we would be on the hook X number of years from now
Yes.
for maintenance and upgrades.
That's right.
So initially, we won't see a big hit, but if they do that'll happen if they put anything in that uses a whole bunch of
That's right.
off the grid, but New England will also pay its share of upgrading whatever gets put in here.
That's right. Yeah.
So, because that was something I had thought about, well,
Mhm.
we could get hit and not get any of the benefits.
That's right.
I assume these aren't huge employers, though. Sounds like,
I don't know. It sounds like a big warehouse full of servers to me.
yeah,
Someone's gotta watch it.
somebody's watching it, but not like a manufacturing plant where there's a
No,
lot of people there.
some maintenance, gotta keep the temperature right, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know much about it.
But it sounds like there's a bill that they've worked through some of these issues in
They
that.
do.
Yeah, we submitted comments and the department submitted comments on that bill as well. So I would urge you to take a look at that one.
Okay,
This bill, not thrilled about it, but the other one, it's fine.
the other one has done a better job.
Well, they've just worked on it.
They've worked
Started
on
on in this
Yeah.
similar place that they.
I envy the full day and the limited scope. Committees have. They don't have to deal with school taxes. And other things. Okay. Health insurance. Oh. Okay, so. Yeah, this is good. All
Thanks,
right.
folks.
Thank you.
Okay. Committee. We are out until 2:45 unless you've got, I know. We've had
Spoiling us with